What's our plan for attacking and walking through our fear? That is the real work of daring.
I think,
Right?
Glenda, it also makes me think about what Gwen was saying also. It's the intentionality, you know, from to write it down, to think it, you know, how everything is interconnected. And so even when we were talking about, you know, the intentionality of gravitating towards the direction that you want to go. And it makes me think of, for example, I heard at one time that race car drivers, they teach them automatically which way to turn, because when the car is spinning, they don't know where they lose their bearings, but they are so it almost becomes like they're on autopilot when they start spinning, so that they can turn it in I don't remember which way they're supposed to turn it, so that that car will go straight again. And it's about that intentionality in everything that we do, to make sure we're moving forward, moving through that fear, right? And moving towards that goal, and making sure that those goals that we have set for ourselves are right in front of us all the time, reminding us, so that, you know, everything is gravitating towards that.
And that those goals are aligned with our deeply held core guiding values. So we've got to be inquiring of our values. Right? So setting those goals in alignment with our values. Absolutely. Fabiola.
Yes, my darling. So I wanted to show you guys something. So with the whole like vision board, like I'm such a huge believer in that. Like in the Bible, it talks about like in Habakkuk 2:4, like, you know, write the vision and make it plain so everybody else can see it, you know, and run with it. I created this at the beginning of this year. I don't know if you can see it well. It's like a vision book, right? And last year I did like this long, what do you call it? A cross-country journey, just me by myself. And this is one of the pictures that I took. I don't know if you can tell. And this was like driving through the mountains of Utah. And that every single time, like I think to myself, what exactly would I want to be doing? This is it right here, just road tripping and have a camper and everything. And on those days when I was working like a beast, okay, for like literally 80 hours a week, for 6 days a week, for almost 4 months to get all my debt paid off, this is what I looked at every single day. And just like, I literally put my vision in a book, and this is what I would look at, you know? And just so I could remember, what exactly am I fighting for? And whenever those things would come up and try to derail me, like these different opportunities would come up, and it's just like, well, do I really want to do that? No, this is what I want. Wow. So I think it's so important. Or even when the fear would come in, that's another thing too, when the fear would come in, and then it's just like, oh no, well, you can't do, or you're not this, or whatever. Well, I'm not going to listen to that. Let me stay focused on the plan. Let me stay focused on this vision, because if I don't do this thing that's on the inside of me that's bubbling and I desire to do it, then I'm never going to be where I want to be, and I'm never going to get to where I need to get to. So that was my little 2 cents right there.
But that's more than 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenda. I was just going to say real quickly, I feel the same way about having your personal mission statement posted somewhere where you can see it. And I keep it in a purse, especially on those days. I kind of have this decision-making framework. Do I educate, negotiate, or just kick butt, right? So even on those days where I think I'm about to kick butt, I pull out my mission statement, because even in doing that, I want to make sure that I'm still aligned with the type of woman I want to be. So I think your personal mission statement is something that you should keep prominent and in front of you as well. And if I could, just one other thing is that I also think as women, we have to look at the role trauma plays in what we upload. So as much as I was in good therapeutic care, having therapy through those 10 years, I was also incredibly traumatized. I think I know that I do with forms of PTSD. And so it was also developing a deep understanding of what trauma is that helped me not define that as me being less than or not good enough or smart enough, that it's a condition that I live with, and recognizing what it is. It's sort of like what you're saying, right, Glenda? Acknowledge it, feel it, and then deal with it is really, really what helps me. And I think also, because we're predominantly women of color, I think all women, we deal with levels of trauma that go unacknowledged, that start to spew out, especially at the moment when we're going to bust the move to live our wildest dreams. So I think that, you know, being in therapy has been a theme here, and it is possible to love Jesus and have a therapist too.
Yes. Yes. Anna?
Right? It is possible. He don't care.
Anna?
I know.
Well, I first of all, Glenda, when you were talking about Juneteenth and and you were talking before we got into this part, I like, excuse me if I was making faces, I like having a visceral reaction to what you were saying. It was so emotional. And so I really appreciated the way that you worded that, because it really just hit home for me and made me really emotional. So I appreciate the way you put all of that. And then talking about therapy and trauma, and of course, as like women, and there's different layers of the trauma that we've experienced as women, and then women of color. And so for me, like I think that the way I would put it too, it's kind of similar to what Gwen said, is that, we have that trauma, and it manifests in the way that we talk to ourselves, like subconsciously. So I've also been in therapy for years. I'm like a big fan of therapy. I think one thing about destigmatizing therapy is I tell everybody I'm in therapy. Like I used to say, oh, I'm going to the doctor, and now I'm like, oh, I have therapy, so I think it's important to do that. And then I think that something I've learned in therapy, which is like related to what you guys were saying, is that, we were told things when we were younger, and told things either by the media or just see what we saw, and then when we get older, we punish ourselves with those, or we subconsciously tell ourselves those like limiting beliefs. So that's something that I've been working on, and that I think I've heard a lot in this conversation. So I just wanted to share, and yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Wonderful. Anyone else? What's coming up for you? Where are people right now? I know it's been
Maybe I had too much wine. I always drink way too much wine. But when I started, I didn't have, my mantra out and everything, because I've been dealing with my career and this COVID-19 and the constant competition to still be productive and show that you deserve to be on this team and you do not need to be furloughed or laid off. And I had a situation where it wasn't working out in my best interest, and I was just so fearful. What would I do? I'm single. I'm the only one who's gonna see about a roof above my head. I don't have anywhere to go. And I had all those fears. And I'm sorry, I don't wanna go on, but I was trying to cut it short, because there was a time where I felt so hopeless just a month ago. And I tapped into my spirituality. I'm like, what is the good of believing that God is in charge of all of this, and I'm in the corner crying because someone is sending me an email and just basically blasting me for work or whatever it was. And I just I had a little sacred place. I go to my roof and I pray. I'm like nature. So because I couldn't get out to nature, I went to my roof and I just started praying, and I just started tapping into, I don't want to be here a month from now. I don't care that it's COVID. I don't care about there's no jobs. I don't care about the thousands of people laid off. I need another opportunity to get me in a better space, because I'm not in a healthy space. And I just went with that. Every time the fear came in, I just prayed or said a verse, and I didn't allow it to manifest in my mind. And I felt like when you guys were saying that, because I didn't know what I was doing. I just wasn't entertaining that depressed fear, that I had, which was always there. I just went above it and started praying and started seeing myself in a different role. And I manifested it in a month. And so it had me floored, because everyone was like, you got a job in COVID? And I was just like, it wasn't that. It was just that stepping beyond that fear and thinking there's more for me, irregardless of what's happening in the world. So I just wanted to say that going into your spirituality and your prayers and verses that help you not think anything is bigger than you, and that just humbles you down to, you know what, God got this. And let me just tap into that. And he's going to do what's best for me. And I just stopped with the fear, and it really did work within a month. So I do have a little testimony to show that when you do tap into what you believe in and you put your fears there, then it gets transformed into an action where you lead to something else. And now you're like, wait, I didn't go into that fear. I went into the possibility, and here I am.
Well said. Yes. Feeling the fear and defying it anyway. Courage doesn't exist in the absence of fear. It exists in the defiance of the fear. And so you're going to your spirituality, but you're also renaming and transforming that fear and being willing to do the work to walk it out. And so the language of intentionality is important, and we want to make sure we're using affirmative language, that we're not saying what we don't want. That's negation. That's negative energy. That we're saying, I want to be healthy and whole. I want to be living in Bali. I want my Airbnb to be bustling, that I have to turn people away. I want to be on the road with my podcast, talking about my process and bringing other people along. My skincare business is gonna bust open Rihanna's cosmetic line. Rihanna has nothing on me. Talk boldly to your vision. And you know what happens when that becomes a practice? You actually start to believe it. And when you believe in that language, you are a badass chick, right? So talk it in affirming language and walk it out. So right now, I want to give you an opportunity to do a little bit of reflection as we get ready to close. So I'm going to go back to the screen. I'm sorry. Let's see. There are some comments here in the chat.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Was that Corinne? You had your hand up. Sorry.
Yes,
go ahead, Corinne.
Is. 2 points. The vision boards are so powerful. And I want to explain that time is that's a physical construct. When you're talking about spirituality, there's no time. So be careful what you put on those vision boards. I use the app, a vision board app. And I remember like December of 2017, putting on like a pregnant woman with a belly, just wanting family. And in 3 months I was pregnant. You know, it wasn't even planned. It was not planned at all, but there's no timing to, oh, well, you want this, it's gonna come in 10 years. There's none of that. But when you're doing things physically and actively move in that direction, it happens when the universe feels you're prepared. That's 1. And 2, I just wanted to offer a visualization tip that has helped me like during meditation and things, and to manifest things faster. When I meditate sometimes and I want to plant intentions and seeds, I will envision myself right now how I am, and I envision my higher self in that place where I want to get to. So for example, there's a house that I want to get with the lake and everything. I envision myself waving to my higher self from across the lake, and my higher self taking me through a tour in this house. And if you take something that you have right now that you are emotionally attached to, and you see it within that house, the power that you feel, the emotion that you feel in that moment, watch how fast things start unfolding for you. And you're wondering, wow, how did that happen? So if I'm walking through that house, this is my favorite corner in the house. This is my feng shui, like money corner. While I'm walking through that house in my vision, and I see this corner in there, suddenly I'm crying, because it's like, oh my God, this is the corner that I have in my new house. And you're like jumping for joy. But that's just the way to manifest it. See what you want, envision yourself how you are right now, and put yourself in that moment. Take an emotional object that you are tied to and place it in that vision, and watch how fast things unfold for you.
Corinne, I appreciate your saying that, and kudos to you on manifesting what you wanted. Michael Bernard Beckwith, whom I referenced earlier, he talks about that vision, and he is, to me, is one of the most gifted leaders when it comes to this idea of visualizing and bringing into fruition what you want. And he talks about this idea of not only seeing it and asking the universe for guidance, but developing an emotional attachment to what you want. So it's on your vision board, but that vision board can be static. So what are you going to do to make what's on that board come alive? You've got to keep talking about it. You've got to dream with it. You've got to make love to it. You've got to record it. You've got to sing a song. You have to imagine yourself owning it, being what it is you want for yourself. Developing that emotional attachment is actually powerful. So now your body has a physical experience for what you want. Wonderful. I want to go to the chat. So some things that came up. Fabiola, those vision boards are so real. Amen. Tracy, be careful what you ask for. Be specific and intentional. Absolutely. Fabiola, that's what kept me going and focused for a long time, right? So when Fabiola was in the rut doing what she didn't love, I need to remind myself that I have a higher purpose. Having that visual to load up into your Roz is important. Rosalind, we have the power. This conversation addressed what we have to do and how to get there. Make it a reality. Fabiola, shout out to my therapist, Tracy Carter, who has helped me overcome so much trauma. Shout out to Tracy Carter. Thank you for supporting Black women to be our best, fullest, most authentic selves. Gwen, every successful woman I know has her own Tracy. Shout out to all the therapists willing to meet us where we live. Absolutely. Sonia, and sometimes we accept other people's realities, and then we conflate that with who and what we are. So when we're not in alignment with who we are, we take other people's script for our lives. That is the definition of self-sabotage. Fabiola, that's good, Imani. Sonia, the season is rife with opportunity. And Sonia, sweetheart, seize it. Tracy, I love the song by Kirk Franklin, Hello, Fear. It reminds us that we have the power and authority to speak to our circumstances and to transcribe them, to overcome them. Absolutely, to triumph over them. Gwen, let's not cancel 2020. Let's define it as the year where we all learn and shift and dare to be great. The universe is sitting us down in and on purpose. This is the season of self-reflection and claiming our wildest dreams. 2020 is the vision year. It's not the vision that we thought, but it's unfolding in a grand, powerful way. Sonia, our Gwen, 2020 is the year. Absolutely. Speak life into your dreams. Aisha, yes. I need that clock, Corinne, said Imani to Corinne. Sonia, Corinne, your baby is precious. Okay,